All right, thanks everyone for coming tonight. Hopefully we provide a lot of good information on the budget and things we're doing. We can get started. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, again, welcome everybody. We're going to provide a short agenda here on some voter information, proposition review of the items on the ballot. We're then going to have there's 4 of the 5 candidates that are here, and well, actually all 5 candidates, the 5th candidate is going to have a statement read. So they'll each speak for 2 minutes. And then we have a public comment section. There won't be Q&A during that, so we won't be responding. But as with any board meeting, there will be a public comment section. And then we'll adjourn and enter a short board meeting where we have some approvals we have to make. We'll adjourn. And then after that, we'll have the budget expo. And Dr. Gordon will provide us a little more information about that a little later. So perhaps we can start with some information on voter information.
So I will dispense with reading all of the information, but in order to be a qualified voter in the district, you must be a citizen of the United States, 18 years of age, and a resident within the district for a period of 30 days immediately preceding the meeting at which the voter intends to vote. Additionally, you have to be registered to vote in the annual election. And fortunately, if you're here tonight, voter registration will be ongoing. It has been happening and it will be ongoing after this meeting as well. You can get registered. You can speak to Elena and her team about absentee ballots, as well as simple mail-in ballots. So there are multiple ways this year that you can cast your ballot, and you can get it all accomplished actually this evening after this meeting by seeing Elena at the table out in the foyer.
Thank you. And then a short review of the propositions on the ballot. Bruce, do you want to do that?
That's the presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry, presentation.
So welcome everybody. I'm Janet Warren, I'm the superintendent. I have with me Dr. Hayes and Mr. Martin to talk about our budget for this coming school year, as well as propositions, and again, we're going to hear from the candidates. So our district priorities that we're focused on during the budget is right-sizing the staff and programming. As you know, our enrollment has been declining, so we're really looking at how to right-size the school district. We provided a retirement incentive this year, so that was very helpful to the district. We're also going to continue to support our 2 pre-K classes at the elementary school. We're also going to continue our support for mental health staffing throughout the school district. We are going to preserve and expand some of our courses. Tonight you'll see the robotics team. Where's the robotics team? Right there? Yay! Let's go. Into the school day as students' interests change, the world's changing. We want to make sure that we have courses for our students, so things like intro to business, advertising, entrepreneurship, automotive technology. And tonight you'll get a chance when you go into the expos to see some of these classes that are offered now and how we're going to expand them in the future. You're in this beautiful place, and some of you probably have not been in our auditorium before, so we're looking to expand not only the front of the house, but also the back of the house. We have this great lighting and sound system. So we want to create classes where students can learn about that during the day. We're going to continue our support for bilingual outreach in our community. We have a translator throughout the district. We're going to continue our support for our school resource officer. As you know, we have police officers in our school district. They also have a booth in there that you can talk to them in regards to what that program entails. We're also continuing to upgrade our facilities, not only through our capital project, but through our regular budget. We do constant updates to the building, not only aesthetics, but a lot of things that you can't see. We're also going to support year 3 of our one-to-one laptops, so all of our students in grades 6 through 12 have laptops. We're going to roll that down to start out in 5th grade. They're not going to bring them home. And we're going to start this class called IB for All. As you know, we are an IB school. So every 11th grade student is going to have an opportunity to take English. So every child, that's our work, our equity work. We're also looking at electives in grades 9 through 10 to have students have more choices. So in 9th and 10th grade, English will look a little different, and then 11th grade, all of our students will take these classes. So this has been our priority as we build the budget. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Hayes.
Thank you. So this is a summary of the priorities that we consider when we put together our budget. So our budget considerations always begin with fiscal responsibility. We want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible to the taxpayers in the community. We also want to be aware that the state in general has declined enrollment, as does Red Hook. So we want to make sure our staffing levels match that decline in enrollment. At the same time, we want to balance that with being able to support our robust programming. We've spent a lot of time looking at future-focused learning and successful practices. So some of the programs that Dr. Worden just highlighted, we want to make sure that we can support fiscally. We also have many state mandates that we are required to respond to, and those mandates continue to increase. We are always looking at our facilities and upgrading facilities and making sure that the facilities run and support the programming that we need. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we meet individual student needs. So that means responding to community requests, such as putting in the pre-K classes, and then the changing economic landscape as well. So just to give you a brief summary of our budget size, the board adopted the legal language for the budget notice, as well as our bus proposition and capital proposition that was complete on March 20th. The budget that Mr. Martin is going to present for you tonight was officially adopted on April 23rd. We're here tonight for the budget hearing and the expo that we have set up in the gym as well as outside. Our voter registration, as Mr. Martin highlighted, is available tonight. And we have the official budget vote on May 21st, and that will be on the intermediate side of the Mill Road Elementary School from 12 to 9. You can vote in person.
So my goal during the public hearing is to talk at a high level about the budget that the board did adopt back in April and that the community will be looking at on May 21st. I'll talk about this from a high level. I will have a table in the gymnasium if anybody wants to go into more detail. But what you see here are broad categories of budget, and I will not go through these line by line. At a high level, I would say that this is a budget that maintains and attempts to enhance program at the Red Hook Central School District in an environment that had some very interesting and somewhat difficult revenue scenarios during the course of the spring. The governor came out with a projection that would have taken $1.1 million of foundation aid away from Red Hook, and that would have caused a difficult both financial and programmatic approach to the 24-25 year. But we did have a significant retirement incentive during 23-24. We obtained 11 faculty retirements, and that's going to allow us to do a few things with the 24-25 budget. There are 3 of those 11 positions that we will not refill, so those create budgetary savings. And then of the remaining positions, this budget projects that we will refill those positions, but we will refill them at a lower spot on the salary schedule. About 80% of our budget is staffing and benefits, and you look through the remainder of the items, and there's the ongoing debt service component, the services that we purchase at BOCES, and then the all other miscellaneous items. At the end of the day, the expenditure budget moves by 4.26%, and therefore the revenues have to move at the same rate. The first item in the revenue category is tax items. That is slightly different than tax levy, but the tax levy is also moving at 3.47% this year. That is just under the tax cap, which calculates at 3.48, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. State aid moving up at a very modest rate. We did get the foundation aid restored, but we did not get the 3% index on the foundation aid that we've become accustomed to in the last few years. We will increase the amount of fund balance that we apply to help fund next year's budget. And you see a pretty significant increase on a percentage basis in the miscellaneous items. Interest earnings are up above what we budgeted this year, so even though we're hearing that interest earnings may tail off, on a budget-to-budget basis, we're actually putting a bigger number in for interest earnings than we did last year. We attract many non-residents to come and get educated at Red Hook Central School District. Their parents pay tuition, and that is becoming an increasingly stable and predictable revenue source for the district, and that's in those miscellaneous items. Our special education program attracts students that other districts place into our program, and they pay a tuition to us. And again, that revenue is becoming more predictable and more stable. And we do expect to get a training holiday from our health insurance consortium one more time. That shows up on the revenue side because the accountants like to treat it as a dividend. But those items combined make that dramatic increase in what's a pretty minor portion of our total budget, but a fairly dramatic increase in the miscellaneous revenue. So you see the budget balancing out there with that 4.26% increase. And then we can go to the next slide. We are required in the public hearing to talk about the budget in three parts. So there it is. We have to divide the budget up into the administrative component, the program component, and the capital component. As you can see, the majority of the budget is program with some capital and administrative components. And we can go to the next slide. I told you that I would talk a little bit more about the tax cap calculation and how it gets to be a tax cap of 3.48%. There are three major factors there. The one most commonly understood is the CPI factor, which is we are allowed to stay under the tax cap if we increase at CPI, but only CPI up to 2%. So CPI during 2023 was over 4%. That means in the tax cap calculation, the CPI index is that 2% maximum. Again, this year, we're looking at a significant tax-based growth factor. Tax-based growth factor represents real new properties and additions and enhancements in the district. So in other words, a bigger tax base over which to spread the tax levy. And this year, that's 1.05%. I looked at my tax bill last year and numerous other tax bills around the district. Last year, we had a tax-based growth factor of 1.35%. And in fact, individual tax bills were going between 1.1 and 1.2% lower than what our levy increase was last year. So we would expect that to happen again this year. That tax-based growth factor, again, means a bigger tax base over which to spread the taxes. And then ultimately, the last thing, the capital exclusion. We are still phasing in the cost of the $22 million project that was approved in 2022. That allows another 0.43% of exclusion under the tax cap. And all that together gets us to the 3.48. And we can go to the next slide. We'll stop here only briefly. That is the entirety of the tax cap calculation. I'd be happy to go through it at my table in the gym if anybody wants to talk about it in more detail.
So there are other items on the ballot in addition to the budget that Mr. Martin just reviewed. So I want to just summarize each of those. You can go to the next slide. We do have a bus proposition. So some of you may not know that New York State has an EV bus mandate that every public school in New York State must transition their entire fleet to electric buses by 2035. Beginning in 2027, we are no longer allowed to purchase fuel buses. We have 44 vehicles in our fleet. So this year's proposition is asking for a maximum expenditure of $500,000 in total for EV buses and no more than $250,000 for an individual bus cost. We have applied for 2 grants to help offset the cost of electric buses. We've applied for a NYSERDA grant and also an EPA grant, so the purchasing of these buses is contingent on being awarded that grant money. The capital project, this is just a brief overview of all the components of the capital project. We do have tables set up in the gym and encourage you to come ask questions. For the EV bus portion, our transportation director, Anthony Curcio, is outside with an electric bus. He is giving rides if anybody's interested in taking a ride and learning about the bus. Mr. Casado will be outside on the track and field to answer questions about that. I will be in the gym to talk about gym upgrades and then these other upgrades in other buildings. There's some HVAC work at the middle school, LED lighting replacement at Miller Road Elementary School and the high school. The front columns, the front of the lamps need to be repaired. There's lockdown system upgrade, and then the gymnasium upgrade, and the multi-purpose synthetic athletic and education field. Next slide. The total cost of the capital project proposition is estimated to be about $14.9 million. It's important to say that these are preliminary estimates. Just to give you an idea of our current capital project, which was a $22 million estimate, we're currently running about $3 to $4 million under budget, which means that we haven't borrowed that money, and therefore the taxpayers will be taxed on that money. I'll let Mr. Martin talk a little bit about state aid.
So whenever we do any kind of major capital improvements, it's important that we do it with approved capital project funding because we get that 64.4% state aid ratio. So what you see there is an indication that to do $14.95 million worth of work, the local portion of that is $5,323,000, rounded slightly when you do the math. We do in fact finance this over a 15-year period in order to spread out the impact on the tax base. And so there is an interest cost on top of what you see there, but the math is indicative of why it's important to do these kinds of things as capital projects so that we can take advantage of that almost 2/3 of the cost being covered by state aid. At the end of the day, if this project is improved, the $400,000 house will on average pay $47 a year over the 15-year life of the debt service.
And then finally, we're excited to have our budget expo. This is the first annual budget expo, so we invite you all to the gym. This is just a summary of all the different tables that our staff and students have put together, so we're excited to share what we do here at Red Hook and have you ask questions. Again, if you're interested in the EV bus, that's outside, out front. Mr. Casado will be out on the track, and then all of these other tables will be set up in the gym.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have the candidates that are running for the open seats on the board. And I'm just going to do these in alphabetical order, if that's okay. And each candidate has 2 minutes. And when you get to about 1 minute and 45 seconds, I'll just kind of give you a general wave so that you know. So I believe we can start, and I'm probably going to get your last name wrong. I'm sorry, Aaron. Aaron Crittenden?
Austin.
I'm sorry, Austin. Sorry. All right. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Hey there. My name's Austin Crittenden. I am the father of 2 young children. My son is a student at Mill Road, and my daughter will be following shortly. I, for the last 9 years, have been a social studies teacher at Arlington High School. And I believe that my experience in education, paired with my history in Red Hook and my commitment to this community, makes me a uniquely qualified candidate for the Board of Education. I grew up here. I attended Red Hook schools alongside my wife, Mari. She now owns the stationery shop in the village. I'd like to offer a perspective to the board that values every student and their ability to find belonging in a school community. I've done a lot of work at Arlington related to promoting social and emotional well-being throughout the school. I've led professional development workshops for teachers, and I've also earned my certification in educational leadership. I'm currently the advisor for the Allies Club, which is our LGBTQ+ student group. And I'm proud to be a part of initiatives related to equity and restorative justice as well. As a teacher, I understand what is happening in schools on a day-to-day basis, and I believe that we need to support the people that are working with our students every day. I'm familiar with the challenges that come their way, and I know that supporting them is key to student success. I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to live and raise a family in Red Hook, and I'm deeply invested in the future, having 2 young children. So I'd like to uphold and improve upon the quality of education that Red Hook is known for. So thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Now, continuing on in alphabetical order, Seth Halverson.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Unfortunately, my husband won't be able to be here tonight. He is very disappointed to not be able to share his thoughts and his intentions with you. He is at a mandatory training that he is doing for the federal government, and so he's unable to be here with us tonight, but instead he is going to be represented by our daughter, and she will be speaking on his behalf.
Hello, my name is Sydney Halverson, and my dad, Seth Halverson, is running for school board. He can't be here tonight. He is in Washington, D.C. and sends his greetings. He asked me to give you a speech for him that would share reasons why he earned your vote. Dad said there are 2 reasons why he is running for the board. I am the first one. I am in 2nd grade. The other reason is my little brother, Kai. He will be in kindergarten next year. Dad has been an educator for 30 years. Yeah, that's a long time. He has left 7th grade to graduate school, has been a senior administrator, and a proud teachers union member. Dad has worked to build 2 schools, most recently Bard High School, Early College, Newark. Dad has been with Bard since 2011. Since we joined the community a few years back, Mom and Dad have been so moved by what they've seen. In Red Hook, we have a shared commitment to excellence in our schools. We value education. Dad wants us to bring his decades of experience to help address the challenges we face as a district. Dad is a philosopher of education and a scholar of education policy and politics. At Bard, he teaches philosophy of education. He focuses on the questions that emerge when we consider education and schooling. The other class he teaches is a philosophy of care, which examines the ethics and politics of care. For decades, Dad has worked to improve education and support teachers in schools. He leads professional development programs for public high school and teachers and administrators. Mom, I'm not finished. Dad has done a lot. He has taught middle school and high school English and social studies. He was a high school speech and debate coach for years. He has mentored new teachers, designers, written textbooks, worked on state accreditation, evaluated and assessed educational programs, and a lot more. He wants us to use his toolkit in service to our community. So vote for Dad. My dad said always.
And continuing on, Jen Manning.
It's really hard to follow that.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Magnon. I have a daughter in 9th grade, and I have a daughter in 6th grade here in the school district. My interest in continuing on the school board is rooted in the importance of remaining actively engaged in our district. I value participating in this civic role to support our school community as we work together to embody our Raider profile. As a board member, I have set out to embrace these traits, which we hope to foster in our students by being an empathetic listener, critical thinker, working collaboratively to solve problems and challenging inequities. If re-elected, I would continue to cultivate an evolving, informed, and caring perspective. I would also look forward to supporting the district as foundation aid shifts over the coming years, and the Blue Ribbon Commission and New York State Education Department begin to advance a rethinking of graduation measures. While on the board, I have considered communication as an ongoing goal and one that should be under continuous reflection. We have hosted community conversations, which has been an amazing forum. Creating more opportunities like this to convene diverse ideas and perspectives would continue to build our school community. It is vital that we hear different views on issues we are facing, that we listen to what matters most among our families, and then use that information as meaningful input to inform decision-making. Our primary responsibility is to ensure the safety and well-being of our students while also providing the highest quality education. With that in mind, I would like our students to know that adults respect your individuality and that we place your interests and aspirations and education at the top. These past 3 years serving on the board have offered me a deeper understanding of how our school, how our board, and how our district function. It's a serious commitment and privilege, and I would be honored to dedicate my experience towards a second term serving on the board. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Next is Emily Mark.
In my stand-up comedy days, I always said, don't follow a child or a dancing dog on stage, so I'm glad I didn't have to go after that young lady. But my name is Mark Maroney. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Rebecca, for 20 years. She's a kindergarten teacher. I have 2 young boys, now men in the district. One is a senior, one is a sophomore. You know, there's an old joke in political science circles: if you like breakfast sausage or governing, don't watch either one get made. And you know, the last 3 years, I've had the honor of actually watching our government be done here at the school. I've been wholly impressed by what I've seen. I take great pride in being part of the leadership team, getting the school district through a very difficult COVID virus, where emotions were high and money was low and people were at each other's nerves, and I take great pride in that. It's because it's a reflection of everyone that's sitting at this table, actually. What my goals are for the next 3 years are very simple. I'm here, I'm on this board as a give back to my community, I've had a very lucky, privileged life because of a good foundation of an excellent education. You can draw on that for your whole life and build your confidence and your aptitude and confidence by being properly educated. But more important, I'm up here for the 9,909 registered voters in this district, that they can be confident at night knowing that their monies are being well spent and that everything is being done properly. I'm watching details. I'm a detail-oriented person. I'm also up here for the 1,573 children that are in our school. Each student should be afforded an excellent opportunity at a great education, and I will work my hardest for everyone in this room to make sure that that happens. It is not fun, but we have an excellent mix of common sense and book smarts and good leadership, and I look forward to the next 3 years, and I thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. I definitely am not as good a speaker as Mark, so I am going to read something. But for those who have not had the pleasure of meeting, I am Erin Masasi. My connection with this school district and community runs really deep. I'm actually a fourth generation. I thought I was third, but it's a fourth generation resident. Both my parents are Red Hook alumni and currently are employed by the school district. I know you all know my mother. She's the crazy Yankee lady. And my dad is Mr. Ron, who drives the school bus. I was born here, I was raised here, educated here, a 1999 graduate, actually coming up on my 25th class reunion. I graduated from SUNY Cortland and Mount St. Mary College with a degree in psychology and a master's in education and literacy. I've been a reading specialist in the Rondout Valley Central School District across the river for 17 years. I provide targeted instruction and utilize the Orton-Gillingham approach in my lessons. I have a passion for fitness, and that's how I know a lot of you actually. I currently coach a group of middle school students, and I'm coaching them to run their first 5K, and actually came right from there. But I have two amazing boys in the district. One is entering high school next year, and the other is shifting over to the 3rd grade wing at Mill Road. Both are active in the school community. They have budding leadership skills and strengths in academics that I attribute to this school district. They keep me busy. I'm currently seeking re-election to a second term on the Board of Education. While others may see this as an opportunity to spearhead and ignite change, I see an opportunity for our board to continue its great work. Our board has endured a lot of change and rebuilding the past few years. We've restructured, we've had special elections, resignations, and the loss of a board member and friend to many of you. I believe that remaining on our board can provide us with consistency and help us move the district toward directly impacting student outcomes. I feel that I've made positive relationships and gained trust in my first term, and I'm appreciative to have been awarded the endorsement from the Faculty Association. It's a huge honor and a testament to my dedication. I fully support this district, our teachers, support staff, administration, and students. I've made ties between the school community, and I care about what the members of this community have to say. I value those partnerships and the importance of trust. While we may not always agree, being able to compromise and support group decision-making at this table remains at the forefront. I've also found that being an effective board member takes time, and it's been full of learning. So I'm clearly committed to public education and have a desire for all our community's children to succeed. Oh, okay, thank you. I recognize the importance and responsibility of the position, and I'm happy to dedicate my time serving, and I'm confident that I can accurately represent a great portion of my community at this table. Thank you.
I'd like to thank each of the candidates for speaking and for running, and for those that are currently serving for serving. It's not always an easy job being on the board. It's an important one to represent our community, so I think we all need to offer our thoughts and respect and thanks to those that serve and those that have decided to run and try and serve. So thank you. I believe that brings us to the public comment section. So this is not part of the formal board meeting. We are going to offer public comments to the extent that people have comments related to the budget. This is not a Q&A. As Dr. Ward mentioned, there will be Q&A opportunity afterwards as it relates to various aspects of the budget. But if anyone has a statement they'd like to make as it relates to the budget, you can approach the microphone here, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your. She can't help herself. She used to be president. You'll have 3 minutes, and as the vice president reminded me, please introduce yourself. Do we have anybody? Sure.
So, I actually do have comments to make about the newsletter, actually, which I pulled off. Can you hear me? Everybody? Oh, my name is Dolores Croft. I pulled off the budget newsletter online because it hasn't gone out yet. I think it's going out this week. And one of my concerns was I noticed that there was no mention whatsoever of the artificial turf field. And the description under Proposition 3 states, and I'll quote, the installation of a multi-purpose educational and athletic field, which I can only assume contains the artificial turf project. Now, since the purpose of this newsletter is to inform the voters as to what we're voting on, why aren't we being told that we're going to be voting on the artificial turf field? The descriptions of the other items in Proposition 3 seem they're quite clear and distinct. The 4 pillars of the Linden Avenue School, we can mention that again tonight. However, they did not mention whatsoever the artificial turf field. Interesting that one of the board members stated previously that every item in Proposition 3 is equally important. And why did this particular item not get the same attention as the others in this newsletter? There's a lot of discussion out there on social media these days, lots, and everyone else, or everywhere else, that's saying that we need to get facts. And that's what we're asking for, facts and the information. Then why aren't we being provided the facts and the information? It's unfortunate that many of us will not be accurately informed regarding this project and may unwittingly vote for what seems like a very ordinary, standard, run-of-the-mill field upgrade. Certainly not an artificial turf field. You certainly don't get that assessment from the description stated in this newsletter. The installation of a multi-purpose educational and athletic field. It is not my intent to advise anyone how to vote on this issue. It is my intent, however, to express my sentiment that it's only reasonable and expected and actually ethical that we be provided complete and balanced information, especially when it comes to educating the public for the purpose of making decisions as to how our tax dollars are to be spent. We need to know what we're voting for. It is your obligation to communicate that information accurately and fairly. Thank you.
Anybody else? Going once? Dennis?
Yes, one of the things that's interesting is I'm looking down at this budget, and we're talking about upgrading air conditioning at Mill Road. We're talking about a number of other things that I thought were already present in the 2022 budget. And I'm not quite sure why it's reappearing here, as well as I am aware that the 2020 budget, the 2022 budget, had included money that was going to be spent for researching renewable energy alternatives to the boiler system and the other things that were there. And here it's raising, I see it's being raised again as an option for the propositions 2 and 3. So I'm not quite sure why that's there. I also am not sure that I've heard anything discussed about the results of the investigation that was supposed to be done by the engineering company in terms of renewable alternatives as part of a budget that was approved. There was $100,000 that was paid, or the $75,000 of the $100,000 was paid by NYSERDA to do a study to see about whether or not we would be able to do renewable energy alternatives. And I haven't heard anything indicating that the results of that study is being incorporated as part of a potential proposal to do upgrades that would be beneficial. What I see is the same old of using oil and continuing to operate under the assumption that the boiler is going to be here for a number of years. Martin had mentioned that we've got a 15-year payment back for these budgets, right? That it's going to be amortized, and over the course of the next 15 years, we'll be paying the results of that. Will we be using oil 15 years from now, or will we be paying for something that will no longer be operational because of the mandates, because of state mandates, or just logic, right? So that's my concern, is that there's no planning that seems to be done around the future of either the infrastructure or the benefits to the community. So.
Thank you. One of the benefits, again, this is not a Q&A session, but one of the benefits of the structure this evening is that we have the Budget Expo after this. And I think Bruce Martin can answer a lot of your questions. That study was provided. And a lot of planning has actually been done. So as part of the Q&A at the Budget Expo, Mr. Martin can answer those questions. Anyone else, as long as it relates to the budget?
Frank Stoppenbach. I've been Red Hook for a long time. Well, there used to be a board member who expressed a lot of questions about the idea of doing an athletic field with artificial turf. And she succeeded in getting that broken out in the previous budget as a separate vote. I think she had the right idea, and I think doing the athletic field with artificial turf is a mistake. On the renewable energy point, the gentleman made quite well. I think it was 10, 15 years ago, when they were doing the roof project, I suggested that they should look at solar. Still waiting.
They may be able to show you the solar panels that have been installed. So, anybody else?
Hey, I think this is a great idea, by the way, Budget Expo. It's way better than the dog and pony show going on at all the different town meetings where nobody from the public usually is there to hear them. My name is Sarah Bowden. I'm a resident of Tivoli, and I have 3 kids in the district, 1st grade, 6th grade, 8th grade. And I come to the public hearing today to give feedback on Proposition 3. And the board has already heard this feedback, so I'm addressing it to you. I'm a proud graduate of New York State Public Schools, and I'm a daughter of public school teachers. My kids are all multi-sport athletes, and I have been a coach with the Detroit Soccer Club for 10 years, and I co-direct the intramural program there, where we serve more than 300 players in the town of Red Hook for learning soccer. And it takes a lot for me to vote no on anything related to schools because I support paying our teachers and staff a fair wage. I support good quality facilities for everything, academics, arts, and sports. However, the administration and school board have chosen to put all the capital improvements into one proposition, even knowing that the turf field was voted down recently in the past. And I cannot support a turf field for the following 4 reasons. First, the health and safety of our student athletes. Turf is not safer than grass. It may be more competitive because other districts are using turf, but it's not safer. The NFL Players Union agrees with me. FIFA agrees with me. They require grass. It takes a lot of work and resources to maintain a turf field, even at the minimum standard for safety. And again, it's not safer, which brings me to number 2, cost. With the decline of students in this district and the state aid formula shifting, can we count on affording the high replacement and maintenance costs that will be going forward with the turf field? Will we have the number of students to justify such an expense, and will we have the teams to justify it? Number 3, environment. When we replace that field full of forever chemicals, it will go into a landfill where it will never decompose. Number 4, community care. We need to make this decision as a community with a view toward the next several decades and not just what is best for right now. As a town council member in the past, I found that Red Hook is known statewide for its reputation for responsible land use and sustainability. I used to have a hard time explaining where I'm from because I'm from a really small town upstate New York. But now when I say I'm from Hoosick Falls, people know exactly where I'm from because of the PFOA crisis. And I just don't think Red Hook needs another turf field. I'm worried about our aquifer. And I don't think this is the right choice for this time. Thank you.
In the interest of finishing up our meeting and having time for the Budget Expo, I'm going to end the visitor recognition section, and we're going to adjourn the public meeting and move to a quick board meeting. Do I need a motion to adjourn the public hearing? All in favor? All right. So now I'm going to call the meeting to order. Do I need a motion to call the meeting to order? I don't. So we have a number of agenda items we need to vote on that are listed items 1 through 6. We can just vote on these collectively. First, do I have a motion? There's 7. Oh, I'm sorry. I printed it earlier. You added something. Sorry, items 1 through 7. Do you have a motion on the privileged items? Any comments, questions on any of these? All in favor? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Hi. Let me hold the phone while we try.
All in favor? All right. Now we can move on to the Budget Expo.